Welcome to the wonderful world of dance, bringing you exclusive interviews with top dancers and choreographers and reviews of the world's best companies across the globe. You can find lots more on our website at thewonderfulworldofdance.com.
Hi, this is Savannah Saunders from The Wonderful World of Dance, and today I am so excited to introduce English National Ballet first artist, Isabelle Brouwers. Originally from Germany, Isabelle has been with English National Ballet for 6 years after training with Royal Ballet and English National Ballet schools. But now, of course, with COVID, English National Ballet, like all companies around the world, have not been performing. The company has only recently seen their dancers begin to return to their new multi-million-pound home in East London. So let's find out how this ballerina has been handling lockdown life and, yes, how she's returning to the studio. Hi, Isabelle.
Hello.
So lovely to talk
Nice
to
to
you.
meet. Yeah, I'm honored and excited about this opportunity. So, yeah.
Well, and today you're joining me for the listeners who can't see you. You're sat at a cafe today.
I am indeed. Had some mishaps at home, which unfortunately mean I had to relocate, but excited nonetheless for this.
Yes, absolutely. So for those, if you hear a little bit of background noise or someone comes to offer Isabella another coffee, then you know why. But that is London life at the moment. Who knows what's going on these days? So you've recently just started to dip your toes back into the studio. How does it feel to be back?
To be honest, I can't really describe how it feels. Lockdown was a bit of a whirlwind. And on top of that, I had fractured my foot just before the lockdown happened, which meant that my immobilization was even more accentuated. I was just stuck in my little tiny studio flat, trying to get back to dancing without really having any proper follow-up and without having any real guidance or real treatment, and on top of that, without having any space at all. So it was really quite a challenge and quite a self-discovery process, to put it one way. So being back in the studios is just absolutely liberating. We are still very much following social distancing rules. We are still restricted to a certain box in the studio, just to ensure that we have a proper and safe distance between each other when we're working at the bar. And also within center work, we try and keep our distances and we wear a mask throughout. But even with these restrictions in place, it's so liberating and so inspiring and motivating to be able to be back in a professional work environment, especially the incredible new studios that we have in Canning Town.
What is it like dancing in a mask? This must be, I've been on holiday, it's been quite warm. I've been wearing my mask and social distancing. And it was horrible, to be honest, I have to say. What's it like dancing?
It's a little bit asphyxiating, to say the least. I guess it's good lung training. Personally, I don't mind it so much now. The first week was a bit of a struggle. I think actually what got me the most was not being able to see anything below my nose. And I found it quite difficult to focus and find my spot and find somewhere to look at when I was balancing, just because you kind of lose that peripheral. I guess it makes you realize how much we rely on our visuals as dancers. Yeah.
And so you're at the bar and you're having to social distance and in the center.
Yes.
What does that feel like? Does it must make your class numbers smaller? And tell me about that.
Yes. So actually, it's been quite an incredible logistical feat, I think, for the company to put this all together, because we are restricted to, they're calling them social bubbles, little bubbles of 8 dancers maximum. And they've tried to, and very successfully, managed to compile people who live in certain households together or within a certain proximity of each other, within different groups. And also they've managed to modify another group for the people who had been injured during the lockdown, and therefore they were able to come back at a slightly slower pace. And yeah, so we've got these pods, these like bubbles of just 8 dancers, and we each have our assigned studio and an assigned entry time and arrival time, just to ensure that there's not a huge rush of people all coming into the building at the same time. We have temperature checks when we arrive in the building, and we go through a little symptoms questionnaire just to ensure every day that there's no alarm bells ringing. And yeah, we have a one-way system to go up the stairs into our assigned studios, and then a one-way system to come down. It's all been regulated like almost in military and really impressive fashion, actually. Yeah.
It does sound very, very organized. And what about things like, so you're doing company class and you're particularly, coming back from an injury. Mm-hmm. What about when you're thinking, or the company's thinking about rehearsals and doing, pas de deux and duos and things? How is that going to work with the social distancing and the masks and that communication that you have as well between dancers?
Yes. Yeah, I mean, I guess, it's difficult to think about it because within dance, we don't even realize it's just second nature to us to have such close contact, and we are just such open and such tactile people. We touch each other, we hug each other, we're open, we're friendly, and it has been a bit of an adjustment. And thinking about phase 2, which will be when we start rehearsing, it is a bit of a complicated thing to wrap your head around. We're having discussions now about that. Again, the company are having to take a very organized and very safe approach just to ensure there's minimal risk of contamination or any kind of dangers. Again, they've been asking us about households and who lives with who, just to try and filter out where pas de deux possibilities would be most safe and most feasible. And I think it'll all be a little bit about creativity and using these impediments and restrictions to our advantage. It is possible to create and rehearse beautiful pieces that don't involve extremely close contact. And yeah, I think as with everything, choreographers, creators, and us dancers, we're just going to have to be adaptable because it's something that we need to do. It's a passion within us. We can't not dance. And we just have to adapt to the times, just as the art form itself has been adapting to the times, throughout the centuries. It's, I guess, another milestone for us now.
And do you have a sightline of maybe when E&B will be back on stage? I know that obviously the company's following all the government guidelines, which keep changing, and they keep pushing back performance dates.
So we had an amazing, exciting season planned, and it's been really a bit of a blow to think of all of the things that could have been and unfortunately have had to be postponed, or I don't know, God forbid, unfortunately, maybe some things will have to be cancelled. As with everything, this entire process has been a little bit of a wait, take it day by day, week by week. There's nothing confirmed or set in stone as of yet for our London performance seasons. I mean, my big dream would be to be able to premiere Creature in November at Sadler's Wells. And as guidelines stand now, in my opinion, it seems like it could be a possibility. But as I said, everything has been changing so quickly and so rapidly. And yeah, I think it's just really been a time for society in general, the population of the entire world, to just take things a little bit slower, not plan months and years in advance, take things one day at a time and be as resourceful as possible with what is possible at the current moment. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Planning has become, so difficult. When you were, do you remember the sort of moment when, before you went into lockdown, what that felt like for you as a dancer at this point in your career? You're 24 years of age.
Okay.
And thinking about, the unknown, what did it feel like going into this?
So I think I was in quite a particular situation, in the sense that I think it had been about 2 weeks or maybe even less, just before the lockdown, that I'd fractured my foot. And it came at a horrible time because we were working on Creature with Akram Khan. And it was the thing that I'd been most looking forward to the entire season. Working with Akram Khan for me in Giselle was an absolute revelation. And it's a piece that for me continues to make me grow as an artist and continues to give me opportunities to just really explore what it means to be an artist, what it means to express and explore different aspects of each character. And it's just, to me, Akram's work is just genius and so inspiring. And the way it's just like a cinematographic experience. Literally every movement means something. And again, we had this opportunity with Creature, and I'd come home. I'd come back to London early for my holidays to give myself an extra week to work with Akram Khan in a smaller group. And the build up to this had just been so exciting, and the material he creates is just, I can't not do it. And then suddenly I was in rehearsal we were playing around and trying a few things. I tried a jump and landed badly, and I knew exactly what happened. I sat on the floor just helpless. It was just a blow. So in a way, as horrible as this might sound, the lockdown actually for me came at a very good time, and a good time in my career, because it did mean for me that the performances that were missed were actually missed across the board. And I feel terrible saying this because I know the passion and the hard work and the dedication that went into the creation of Creature at that time. But in a way, it was actually a very good moment for me, because I am now able to return at the same level and the same kind of speed as my colleagues.
And hopefully, as you say, we will see the premiere of Creature on the stage at Sadler's Wells in London in November.
I'm really praying. I'm really, fingers crossed. I'm really, really hoping this happens.
Absolutely.
And if not, we are blessed in our new building with an incredible production studio, which will allow us to create and stream performances, and make use of the amazing technology that we have in this century to be able to deliver performances in a different way. And actually, I think this is something very important and very relevant to bring up, is that actually this period has been an opportunity to bring this art form to a completely new audience. People who would have maybe never even considered approaching an opera house or a theatre to watch something as, let's say, outdated in their opinion, as classical ballet. Suddenly they have it at their fingertips on a screen. And actually, there have been amazing comments from first-time viewers saying, wow, I never would have thought I would have enjoyed a ballet so much. And now I'm hooked, and they can't wait to come and watch us live. So in a way, it has actually been a period of opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is wonderful to see new audiences engaging through, social media, live, YouTube, all those types of performances. And it would be amazing to see some new work coming out of, EMB's new home. But while you were laid up with your fractured and your injury, how did you stay motivated? You mentioned that, obviously we were all isolated. How have you ensured that you've been able to, I guess, get the right medical support and get yourself ready to come back? And how have you stayed motivated, not just physically, but mentally as well?
I'm not going to lie, it was a challenge. There was dips and there was moments where I just wanted to throw my hands in the air and just go on holiday. But I think as a person, I say this smiling because everyone knows, I'm very, very hardworking and motivated and dedicated. Sometimes a bit too much. So actually, for me, keeping motivated and making sure that I did work every day was actually not that much of a challenge. And I was very grateful to have my sister move in, because I think if I had been in my studio flat alone the whole time, that could have led to a spiral of just insanity. So it was very, very helpful for me to have my sister next to me. She was working on her final year project as a graphic design student, and she graduated with absolutely incredible marks. I'm so proud of her. And just seeing the passion and dedication that she had towards her work right next to me, I guess we kind of fueled each other. Because she made the same comment that if she'd stayed in her flat share and just been stuck in her room, she probably wouldn't have had the same kind of drive and that same kind of motivation to succeed. And I think having her there working so hard and so intently, and having me trying to work hard and intently on recovering from this injury, it gave us both a boost. And yeah, I guess what kind of gave me a constant motivation was knowing that I was going from literally a boot, immobilized foot, to trying to get myself back to some form of dance. So in a way that did give me like a quantifiable and like measurable way of seeing and trying to keep progress going. And yeah, I was able to be in touch with the head of our medical team from time to time. However, our staff were furloughed for most of the time, so I couldn't really use their resources officially. It was a matter of using a lot of the Pilates and rehab knowledge that we'd gained throughout our time at EMB. I am a huge believer in the transformative power of strength and conditioning and Pilates work. I've never been one of, actually, say that. In school, I didn't realize the importance of this. It was only when I actually joined EMB, and I unfortunately had some injuries in the past, which did actually allow me to explore and realize the importance of cross-training. And these moments actually gave me opportunities to understand my tool much better. And this lockdown, this huge period of time in which I was left to kind of, self-rehabilitate, actually was an amazing self-discovery. I just tuned in and tapped into corners of my body that I didn't realize were moving a certain way, and muscles and chains and networks of neurological pathways in my body that I didn't realize had been switched off or dormant or overactive. And I mean, I'm still in this discovery process, and I think this discovery process is never ending for us dancers. But I did find it fascinating to actually have the time to reflect on that, and the time to actually acknowledge that, and realize how much about my tool I wasn't actually yet aware of. And although as dancers we are hypersensitive about how our body moves, I think this moment of just self-training and having to self-guide yourself and self-correct, self-teach, criticize, it was a very useful self-discovery process.
It does sound like you used the time really well, and you're getting back to getting yourself back into the studio, that well-organized, mask-infused studio.
Mm-hmm.
But let's go back to sort of where it all started. How old were you, and why did you start dancing in the first place?
So I come from an expatriate family, which means we moved around every 2 or 3 years. And one of our relocations was in Bucharest in Romania, where they have an absolutely amazing opera house. It's quite historic, not very modernized, but there's something so beautiful and magical about that kind of almost decrepit feeling. And I watched her performance there, and I was just absolutely in love with it. And I just begged my mom to take me to ballet class. I went with my sister, and she was the one who was just kind of hanging off the bar, rolling her eyes. And from the first day, I remember I was just captivated. And we had a Romanian ballet mistress or teacher, who actually I believe is still there. I've spoken to Francesca Velhu in our company, who's Romanian, and I've mentioned this to her before, and she was like, "Oh wow, I can't believe it! Yeah, she's still there." So I started with a woman called Donna Magda, who didn't speak a word of English. She was just blabbering out in Romanian, and I still remember a few of the phrases. Picioarele întinse was straight knees, and then that's the only one I can remember right now. But yeah, so it was just fascinating for me, a little 7-year-old, not really understanding what was being said, but just captivated by this movement. And unfortunately, I was only there for 2 years, and I then moved to Mexico. I was very lucky to find amazing ballet teachers there as well. And after that, I moved to Malaysia, where I found other ballet coaches that just completely reignited and continued to keep this flame, this passion alive. And I think what struck me a lot with the importance of dance is not only how I felt doing it, but also how I felt it gave me a sense of identity and a sense of connection to community. Because we were moving around so much and because our environment was ever changing, this was just something that really gave me a root, and it became part of who I was and how I communicated, how I made friends, and how I connected myself to the environment that I was in. And yeah, it was something I couldn't refrain from. I don't even know how to put it into words. It was just something I had to do.
Yes, I hear that a lot from dancers. It's it becomes as you say, the sense of identity. It's who you are. You are a dancer almost first before many things. You found your way to the Royal Ballet School and English National Ballet Schools. How did they help prepare you? Obviously, they're prestigious ballet schools. Tell me about your training and how that helped your journey.
So I think it was when I moved to Malaysia. I was I was 11 years old then, and it was when I was starting to take my dance training really, really seriously, and it was just getting really impossible to keep lugging ourselves from country to country and find an appropriate ballet teacher to really train me in a professional way. And in Malaysia, I started to gain a little bit more knowledge about the international dance scene. I was going to competitions, and I went to the Youth America Grand Prix. This is where I started to realize actually how important it was not only to train privately. I had great coaches, but how important it was to set yourself in an environment where you were surrounded by people with the same passion, the same level as well, or higher levels to motivate you, to push you, and to realize what you had to achieve. So my parents were always very supportive, and they agreed and fueled my decision to apply for professional training. And I applied for, I think, every professional ballet school literally in the world. After going to the Youth America Grand Prix in 2008, I was really honored to have been seen by the director at the time, who was late Galen Stock, and she offered me a place 1 year ahead at White Lodge, just because I had been exposed to repertoire that maybe with the methodology of training that was being given at White Lodge, they hadn't exposed the younger students to yet. So I was able to kind of jumpstart and join 1 year ahead. And I think I was left a little bit stunned when I first joined White Lodge, because I came from a very strange training background where I never really learned the complete basics, the clean, the the slow, the controlled, like beautiful articulate footwork, which is like such a trademark of the English ballet. And I remember I wouldn't say bored, but I was almost a bit, disheartened when I joined, and we were doing the basic tonjis, basic point work, like articulation of the feet. These are things that I hadn't really realized the importance of, and I hadn't really developed an appreciation for. I was 11 whacking out Esmeralda and Khichri variations on point, and it was great. I had so much fun doing it. I had fun. I felt great. I could turn. I could jump. I had this kind of momentum, this energy naturally within me. I think what was very, very important for me when I joined Royal Ballet School was that I finally learned and appreciated the value of the footwork, the cleanliness, not necessarily whacking your leg up as high as it can or turn as many spins as you possibly can just for the sake of it, just because you can. I had this ability because I just had this energy and I threw myself fearlessly into things. So yeah, the Royal Ballet School really helped me develop the finery. And after that, I was crushed to have not been accepted into the upper school. I think there's a culture that develops a mentality where you think that if you don't get into one school or if you don't follow one specific, crème de la crème or top of the top institution, it means you won't succeed. So at first, getting into the English National Ballet School wasn't the most exciting news. And in retrospect, I cannot believe I had that mentality, because for me it was at EMBS that I really developed who I am now as a dancer. I think it really there I was able to amalgamate both my crazy, passionate fearlessness and the cleanliness and the finesse that I'd been taught to appreciate at the Royal Ballet School. And I was given some great opportunities to take part in competitions as well during my time at English National Ballet School. I went to the Genet International Ballet Competition, where I was awarded the silver medal, and the Young British Dancer of the Year, where I came second. And that's actually where I remember Tamara was one of the judges, and she was the director of the company, and I was just like twinkling eyes when she came backstage and congratulated me at the end, and I was just like, it was an absolutely incredible experience. And yeah, I was very, very, very fortunate and extremely grateful to have had this meeting at the end of our Christmas shows over the third year at English National Ballet School. I remember the moment so clearly. The director of dance at the school said, we need to see you in the office. And I was shaking. I didn't understand what was going on. And Tamara spoke to me and offered me this contract. And I was just elated. It was, when you think back to those little naive dreams that you have as a little girl, and just it was just like a moment of a surreal moment where everything just kind of pieced together, and yeah, it was very, very special.
That moment, no doubt, will be etched on your memory for the rest of your life. And then followed, no doubt, many a year of very hard work with the company.
Yes.
EMB is famously a touring company, both here in the UK, but also across the world. Notorious for being quite a hard-working company as well, and under Tamara's directorship, doing amazing work as well. The company is in incredible shape. What were what have the last 6 years been like for you, joining the company and then going on to being promoted to first artist?
Yeah, so I think my start at EMB was a bit tumultuous. I was kind of thrown in at the deep end. I had to start sooner than I'd expected because someone had left prematurely, and I had to join like pretty much a few days after my graduation show. And I remember the first thing I did was Halia in Granada. I'd learnt the dance of the hours like maybe a few hours before going on stage. I remember how surreal it felt to be dancing alongside these professional dancers in these beautiful costumes that were like, that had such a historic value to them because they'd been in the company for a really long time. And I always loved looking at the names on the inside and seeing all of the dancers of generations past that have worn them. And I was very fortunate in the sense that I was entrusted with a lot from the beginning. And I think I'm very, very, very grateful for this. I had the opportunity to take part in the emerging dancer competition in my first 3 years in the company, which is really surreal to think about it now. I guess it's not a very common occurrence. I think it's a very, very special thing that English National Ballet has. I think many companies don't give the opportunities to younger dancers and younger talents to own the stage in a professional capacity at a rank, doing repertoire that would be expected of a much higher rank. And I think this was an extremely strengthening and formative journey for me. Yeah. Yes. And it gave me the opportunity to strengthen and work on repertoire that I would have not had the chance to perform maybe in another company as a quarter ballet member, and to work with choreographers that were just incredible and were able to allow me to explore different facets of my dancing. And then, I mean, how could I even omit this creation process for Isabelle with Akram Khan? Working with a choreographer like him is, I can't really put into words the experience. He gets into the psyche of each of his characters. He really owns every single movement, every single gesture, and the energy of his movement is just, there's a percussiveness to all the music he uses, and that's reflected in the body, and it's an energy that just radiates from him through the dancer, and it's such an amazing experience. So yeah, we had the opportunity to work with him for Isabelle, and I found a new appreciation for contemporary dance, which I'd never really been that appreciative of, or I didn't really enjoy that much before. And suddenly I found myself absolutely loving it and throwing myself into, just with the entire energy of my being into his works. And we've had the opportunity to tour this really, really special piece all over the world. And also before Akram Khan's Giselle, we had the opportunity to tour EMB's Pizzazz Corsair in Singapore. We went to China. We went all the way to New Zealand with Akram Khan's Giselle. It's been a surreal 6 years. I wouldn't even know how to summarize them. That being said, there were a few dips. Unfortunately, I did fracture my foot in the past, which I guess in a way gave me some sort of advantage now during lockdown, because I knew the process of recovery. I guess it's something that's inevitable as well with the workload that we have. And again, as I said, it's all a self-discovery process. And I do find myself learning and evolving and, changing my mentality every single year, every single week. I feel like I learn something new. I guess also with that, like with the amount of repertoire that we perform, I think at the beginning, I was just used to doing everything full out and everything like full energy. And then I realized you actually have to teach yourself how to pace yourself and how to keep the energy constant throughout. So yeah, it's just, it's been an amazing 6 years, and I wouldn't even know where to start, how to summarize everything.
Well, it sounds amazing, particularly the international and working with Akram. What an incredible experience.
Yeah. To me, that's just, And also, actually, how could I omit this? In my final chance, let's say, or my third year doing the English National Ballet Emerging Dancer competition, I had the serious luck and amazing honor to work with Sidi Larbi Cherkawi for the solo piece. And that again was a whole other discovery process. And I learned a new fluidity, and he's got this like serpentine quality to his movement. And I did some floor work stuff that I'd always seen in videos and I never, ever, ever imagined to be able to do it. And yeah, I was throwing myself into these like slides and rolls, and yeah, it was amazing. So yes, there's just highlight after highlight, and yeah, Killian's Petit More, we did that in the repertoire, and that to me has always been one of the most, it's like the most musical piece of dancing I've ever seen in my life. Every single note, it's as if Mozart and Killian were in the same room together, composing and creating at the same time. It's just amazing. So yes, sorry, I keep going on tangents, but it's just like, yeah.
No, they're wonderful.
It's been amazing.
What are your dream roles? So when hopefully soon enough, we'll see you back on stage. What are your dream roles? Because you're obviously you're quite near the beginnings of what's going to be no doubt a very long career. What are you hoping or would love to dance?
So I think one of my problems in life is that I want to do a little bit of I want to do everything. So I want to do them all. So doing Giselle so much, I've had the great fortune of being a peasant woman and Bathilde, which is a really, really fun and special role, and Myrta. One thing I haven't achieved yet, and I dream of one day, is to perform Giselle. That would be an absolute dream role of mine. I would love to do Carmen. Roland Petit's Carmen is just, I think, stunning. I obviously, every ballerina has to do Odile. I personally, for my style and my energy of dance, definitely I'm more of an Odile. But yes, that would be obviously one of the ones to tick off. In a slightly different flavor and different tone, I'd love to do the role of Prudence in Marguerite and Armand. I just think she's such a devious and flirtatious character. I absolutely love that role. I'd love to do that long pas de deux with the ripples in Yuri Killian's Petit More. Yeah, there's so many things, and I keep discovering and finding new pieces. And yeah, it's just I want to explore every single facet of the artistry that I possibly can. So yes, That being said, though, I think my problem is that I'm so hyperactively aware of everything in this world. I also have so many things I want to achieve outside of dance, after dance. Yeah, there's so many worlds and so many realms that I'd love to go into. I'm fascinated by psychology. And I actually completed a diploma in sports psychology during lockdown. I'm always fascinated by the inner workings of our body and biology. I did a sports nutrition diploma as well during lockdown. And first and foremost, my biggest outside passion and hobby is writing. And I always created little mini reviews and just little excerpts for myself after watching performances, because I am a seriously avid theatre addict almost. I'm going to performances all the time. And yeah, it's been great to have time to also explore that during lockdown and create more writing pieces. And I actually just had my first professional piece of writing published in Dance Europe. So hopefully
that's so fantastic.
Hopefully I'll be able to enjoy live performance again and maybe review it in a more professional capacity.
Absolutely. It sounds like you really, really used your lockdown time. I can't believe all of those things you just mentioned. You're not just rehabbing, you are literally re-educating and working and reinventing, and it's amazing.
Well, I think one day I'll slow down, but for now, I think with all this energy and life that I have within me, I just feel like there's too much to see, there's too much to explore, there's too much to learn, and I wish I could just learn everything, read all the books. I've been reading so much. I've been writing. There's just so many corners of this world that I want to explore and get to know. Yeah.
So,
one step at a time.
Yeah, but with all of that, what would people find the most surprising to learn about you, beyond, Isabelle, the ballerina, and the studious, hardworking? What would they be really surprised to learn about you?
Oh my God, I don't really know. I'm quite an open book, so I think I'm very, very outwardly expressive and outwardly emotive, as you may have realized throughout this podcast. I go on exuberant, passionate tangents all the time, and I'm always really, really, really full of energy and extremely bubbly and extremely outgoing. And I think, a lot of people associate me with this bubbliness and this energy. I guess maybe what would surprise people is that I like to recharge in a very quiet and almost solitary and meditative way. Like, I really value my me time. And I think although I'm probably most known for my exuberance and my bubbliness, I do very much value my Zen quiet time.
I was also reading that you speak a number of languages. Is this right?
Yes, I do. So I guess it's kind of cheating, because we've moved around so much. And my mom's Italian, my dad's German, so I speak Italian and German. I grew up with that. Knowing Italian actually was extremely helpful when we moved to Mexico, because Spanish kind of just tagged along. French was instilled in me throughout my education, and again with the Latin roots, it's really easy to transfer and learn another language. So I guess I could put French in there and list. Some people would say, "Oh no," and some people would be like, "Oh oui, oui, bien sûr." So I put French in there as well. My mom, she's the real inspiration. She speaks every single language you could possibly imagine, and she actually, in university, she studied Arabic. So that I think is the most fascinating one on the list. She still speaks it. She does beautiful calligraphy and beautiful art, and she's always writing Arabic. And it's just,
wow.
She fascinates me.
And who in the dance world is your inspiration?
Where would I begin with that one? I've had the serious surreal honor of working alongside some of my idols throughout my career and my training, and being able to see them, like on my first arrival as that idol, that kind of like almost detached and untouchable goddess of dance. It was just amazing to see them performing and see these idols that I'd seen on YouTube videos from the age of 12, suddenly like doing bar with me next to me. And then what was even more interesting was then getting to know them and getting to understand the thought process behind their work. I think Tamara Rojo is one of the most ambitious, strong-minded, and intelligent women. That's what I really value, is her knowledge of worldliness. I mean, there's a worldliness there. There's an intellectual level that I think maybe there's a misconception around ballet dancers, that they've been educated only in dance and know only dance, and maybe the other aspects of their mind have not really been evolved or developed. And something I really admired, because it's something that I really appreciate, is that Tamara Rojo has a mind that's developed beyond the norm, and she's ambitious and she sets high goals, but she gets to those high goals, and that is a mentality that's really something that I value and really, really hold for myself. As well, Alina Kojikaru, she's a star that I've been following since I started ballet, because I started ballet in Romania. And seeing her work and seeing the way she delves into each character, and And I think what's super, super special about her is that literally every single performance is a different performance. I've seen her do Giselle countless times. I can't even think of counting them from the premiere until now. And each time it's a different show. And you can see that she really delves into the character of each of the roles that she goes into. Even with the classics, she never does the same performance of Manon twice. Even something a bit more whimsical and maybe with less depth to it. She's never done the same Sugar Plum twice. She's never done the same Clara twice. It's amazing. Because she really does go into a self-discovery and evolution process each time. And then we had Jurgita, who first started as guest artist, and then she was working with us more frequently. And with her, I just really saw this like footwork, this appreciation, this articulation, almost supernatural. Yeah, and Akram Khan, I think he was just one of the most influential artists that I've had the honor of sharing time with during my time at EMB. It was just incredible the way his mind works and the way he creates.
You've reeled off some incredible names there, and I think many a young dancer will be listening, quite envious to have had the opportunity to, let's just say, to share the bar with some of those wonderful dancers, many of whom I've spoken with, who I completely agree with everything you've said, and of course I found the work is just beyond. So thinking about those younger audiences, the younger dancers out there, and what you have been going through to date in your career, what advice or words of wisdom would you give to other young dancers who would like to follow in your footsteps?
There's lots of words of advice, lots of words of wisdom, but then again, who am I? I'm not wise. These are just coming from a place of still learning. I'm just using the experience that I've had. And I think one of the most important things is to remember that if you have this passion and you really have this fire within you, and you know if you have it, you know if you cannot go without that, pursue your dreams no matter what. I've had so many people, I don't have the most great legs, I've got bowed legs, and I've been reminded of this so many times in my career. I do not have great feet. And I've just learned to work with them. I've learned to adjust shoes. I've learned to, cheat. I do not have a good arabesque. Again, you just learn to work with what you have. But if you have that passion within you, if you know that this is something that you want to do, don't let these kind of superficial aesthetics get in the way of it. You will undoubtedly throughout your training and your career have people who deem you insufficient or inadequate. Of course, take the useful things out of these criticisms, because there is a lot of use in knowing what is seen from the outside and knowing that this aesthetic could be a problem. But don't let it dishearten you, and don't let it dampen that passion or burn that flame out completely. Because it's something really, really worth pursuing. And it hurts. It hurts a lot, and you'll cry. You'll scream in frustration. You'll miss out a few parties. You might not get the fun gadgets, but you'll get lots of point shoes and leotards instead. And it'll all be worth it, because when you get on stage and you hear that applause, especially when you get that applause when you've done a solo role, it just all comes together, and you realize the importance of those sacrifices, of those bad moments.
Your passion comes through so strongly, and of course you have to be passionate to do this as a profession. No, not at all. What out of the entire sort of spectrum, what is your favorite part, or why do you dance? Where does this passion come from? What drives you?
Why do you dance? What drives me? It's a feeling that you can't put into words. There's an energy, there's a rush, an endorphin high when you dance that you can't even put into words, and that is exactly the quintessential importance of dance. Is you cannot put it into words. You do not need words. It's something human within us. You see a baby who has learned nothing, and you put music on, and you see it's this innate need in us as humans to move, to express, and this rush is something that I crave, that I chase, and it's an unquenchable thirst. It's a feeling that you never tire of, and I remember even like the first time I went to center after lockdown, and like having the space to finally twirl and move. It brings out. I couldn't help myself. I just smiled, and even like if you see me during class, like a lot of people are always commenting that I'm like always smiling or always laughing. I can't physically do Grand Allegro without smiling. I just can't. Yes, there's boring and hard and terrible medicine exercises throughout, and I'm not going to pretend it's all smiles and all rainbows and sunshine all the time. But in the end, when you actually have that freedom and that space to dance, it's an unmatchable feeling. Yeah.
And that feeling on stage from your side of the theatre, what does it feel like for you to be on stage?
It's you get transported completely into a different realm. I mean, of course, there's shows we do up to 12 nutcrackers in 1 week. There's shows where you do not want to put those pointers on. You do not want to go on and be a snowflake. But there's moments that can't be matched, and I've never experienced in any other aspect of life. I mean, I felt it very strongly in some roles where you just enter a different role, and you're dancing alongside colleagues that you giggle with and joke with and stretch with and cry with, and they know everything about you and you know everything about them, and then suddenly it's not them, it's a different person. You've entered a completely different world, and again, it's something that I can't really describe. It's something that I guess many dancers feel. I don't know if I assume every dancer feels it. But yeah, it's this journey into a completely new world that is just so special. Yeah.
Well, you definitely make it special. I can't wait for you and the rest of the company to be back on stage. I'm crossing my fingers for creatures. I'm really hoping this is something that can be stuck onto the calendar, because it's just been way too long. Thank you so much for talking to me today.
Thank you.
Especially from the cafe. Thank you so much. And
I apologize for that.
No, not at all, not at all. And hopefully you get to drink that coffee. And for listeners, thank you for bearing with us as we are doing this a little bit al fresco. So I have to say, don't forget to follow Isabelle on Instagram if you are not already, and I'm sure you are. And it's at Bella Brouwers. And also keep up to date with E&B and find out, what's happening with performances. They've also got the E&B at home, so you can have a look at sort of, what's happening in classes, what's happening online. Follow them on Instagram, and hopefully be able to buy those tickets. Make your donations as well to the company.
Yes.
So we
keep the art form alive.
Exactly, keep the art form alive. Show our support, and we'll see you on stage soon. Thank you so much, Isabelle.
Thank you. It's been my pleasure.
Don't forget to subscribe. We've got some incredible interviews coming up with principal ballerinas and renowned choreographers. We love dance and ballet, and we hope you'll love us. Join us on Facebook and Twitter.